I think episode 10 of Journal with Witch is probably the first time I've truly felt like I think we're skipping too much. I think we're skipping too much. Like I'm at the point now where I just want to go back and read the entire manga. I've mentioned this several times before on my coverage of the series. Every now and then I'll peek into the manga and see that there's like something that's, a little bit more glossed over. And it's really around feeling like I don't have the full context. And it does look like in the adaptation, even though I think they're doing a good job, I still get a sense of the overall story. We're getting a lot of moments where I'm like, I feel like I'm missing context. I feel like I'm missing a bit of context here. I think especially around, God, I forget how her name is, the other girl that was brought into Emiri's group, the one that was being bullied. It just seems like they keep bringing her up, but they're not really kind of emphasizing. Now, it could be just generally, I think, into the context of this episode, just giving Assa a little bit of a push that she needs to not want to stand out. Maybe she just was afraid of standing out because of what they were saying about that girl. But either way, it's like there's these moments like that where I feel like I'm missing a bit. And yeah, with episode 10, I think the thing that really bugs me the most is really around Emiri. I think I'm missing context. I feel like I'm missing quite a bit with what they're doing with her character. And I've talked about this several times before, is they were pretty obvious about the fact that Emiri, likes girls. Or at least she wasn't like into just getting with boys like everybody was wanting to push her to. Oh, you got, confessed to. Are you going to get a boyfriend? Are you going to get a boyfriend? Especially with Assa. Like in this episode, she literally says, even though she's annoying as hell, probably about that, I still, I'm her friend or whatever. But I feel like I'm missing context here because I think this, other than the fact that it was obvious that she was into girls and it was given that impression that with Makio giving her that little bit of a suggestion there that it helped her out. Unfortunately, I think they skipped it, but there was that whole moment where she's in the train in episode 10 and she's in that desert already. She was texting Makio to thank her about, the book that she suggested. That's why she's bringing up Makio when she's in the diner. What would Makio think? Emiri and Makio apparently are in like long conversations. Like they're constantly texting each other, which is kind of sad to this whole episode with Assa being upset that she's not responding to her message, not reading my messages fast enough or whatever. Emiri's over here texting Makio. It feels a little bad when Makio is talking to Assa and she's like, he won't answer my text. And Makio's over there going, yeah, she's talking to me a lot. I don't know what to say in response to this. Everybody needs their piece. But I think it's sort of building into where I think they're taking Emiri's character. Because I thought that Emiri was going to be getting with Assa, honestly. Or at least, confessing to Assa at some point. It just gave me an impression that she liked Assa. I do like that if that's not the case, and maybe, again, it's not skipping anything, and this is really the clear-cut answer as to what we're thinking about that relationship, Emiri's trying to get away from Assa. That was a shocker. Now, I read Emiri in two different ways. Emiri's segment of this episode starts out with the whole thing with, her relationship with her father. And I think that might be a lot to do with her preference. I think there might be a thing here where her being around what seems like a insensitive dude her entire life. Maybe she, maybe that kind of steered her in the direction that she doesn't really like men. I kind of get an impression from that opening scene that that's what the writer wants me to think, is that Emiri just doesn't have good experience with men. And it seems to be stem around her father. Her father seems insensitive. He's talking about Assa in a way that is, insensitive. He's basically, as she kind of puts it, that you saying that, it's kind of the same thing. The manga more puts it in the idea that it's always been that way, father. It was just never, called out. Doing that right there is sexual harassment, and it's always been that way. It's always has been. But anyways, it kind of gives me the impression that she just doesn't really have good experience with men in her life. And that could be something that sort of encouraged her to the idea that she just likes girls more. They're more sensitive. They, understand her a little bit more. But either way, then cutting later on to where she's, of course, with this other girl, which seems like she's in a relationship with that person. Now, again, I thought that she was going to get with Assa, or at least confess to Assa at some point. And I think what they're kind of pointing here is that, yes, she does like girls. And she has found somebody that she seemingly is in a relationship with. And, seems like she's happy with this individual. This person likes what Emiri is, what kind of person that she is. It looks great. I'm kind of curious how long they've been together. Again, sort of going back to previous discussions with Emiri and Makio. Did that conversation with Makio give her the push to find this girl and, confess to her? Or at least try? Try to have a relationship with somebody, that unfortunately the society itself is not going to accept. It obviously implied with her that she's around a lot of people that want her to get with a boy. Find a boy. Are you with that boy? Oh, you like boys. You like that band? Oh, you must like that boy. That whole thing where she's struggling with the fact that everybody wants me to do this one thing here, And I want to do this one thing here. Even when talking with Makio, my mom wants me to get married. Well, Makio is the mindset that I don't think you really have to or whatever. Do whatever you want to do. Kind of, again, a lot of what Makio was saying may potentially gave her that encouragement to go pursue what she wants to do. I want this in my life. This is what I'm going towards. But again, staring back to Assa. Assa in the conversation here with this girl is the interesting part because, again, I assume that Emiri liked Assa, but this scene gives me the impression that one of two things here. One, she's never liked Assa. She's felt the obligation to be with Assa. Or two, she finally gave up on Assa. There's a thing here. Because I read this scene in two different ways. Like the whole segment where the girl comes in there, sits down, they start talking for a little bit, and then suddenly Assa texts her. Emily looks down at the phone and then silences it. And the girl asks her, "Is it your family?" "No, it's Assa. It's the girl I told you about, the one that lost her parents." And the girl's like, "Oh, that sounds horrible. I can't even imagine going through that." And then, yes, right here, Emily makes a very uncomfortable confession. She pretty much confesses these sort of unfortunate, fleeting thoughts that you have. Those little unfortunate things that pop in your mind that you think about that you don't actually mean. You think about something horrible, but you don't verbalize it. You don't actually feel that way. It's just something you think about. It's a reality. And if you have those thoughts, it's just a reality. You can think horrible things. You can think unfortunate things. It's just don't put it into play. It's what you do with that thought once it happens. And so she's a little bit down on herself in the idea that when Assa texted her initially about her parents being dead, she thought, man, I can't stop being her friend now. Like this thought that I have to continue to be her friend because I'm all she has. Because shoot, what did Assa say? And this is something that's hit me before. I've experienced this before. Somebody texts you something that horrible happened in their life and you're thinking to yourself, what do I do now? They need me. Assa in texting is saying, what do I do? Emily doesn't know. That's the sad thing. This young girl, Emily, she doesn't know what to do. Assa's saying, I need an answer. We went to the vacation and they died. What do I do? Emily's going, I don't know what to do. I have no answers for her. All I can think of is that I have to keep being her friend. I can't ever be away from this person. Now, here's where I get in that little mixed feeling that I have. Even though, again, right here, it's a fleeting thought. I don't think it's bad that she thought that. She's just thinking in her mind at the time, what do I do? The sad reality here is that I'm not sure if it's leaning towards the idea that she wanted to break up with Assa as a friend because she just finds her kind of annoying. She keeps pestering me. I thought of times, maybe we're not a good match. We're at a new school and I kind of want to hang out with these people. Now I realize that I'm always going to be friends with her and it kind of is annoying to think about that I can never break off from them. Or is it a thing where Emily at some point wanted to be more than just friends and she realized at that point I can't ever confess to her because it could ruin our friendship and I can't do that because she needs me? I don't think it's the second one just because it just feels so out of place. It just feels out of place. But at the same time, I do think that could be a reality there. That she did want to be more than friends. And when she realized that Assa needed more than just a relationship and maybe is too vulnerable at this moment, that she chose not to. And that's why she's pursuing other people. Now, again, that she got that encouragement from Makio, read some books, watched the movie, was like, okay, I can do this. I can be who I want to be. I'm going to chase after this thing. Maybe that she finally decided to let go of Assa. Because I do really feel like this entire episode paints Emily as sort of wanting to move on. It does feel like there's a bit in here that is move on, walk away from this thing. I don't have to always be stressed out about this. It gives a sense that she's been walking on eggshells for a while, at least a year. We kind of finally give a time period to today, pointing out this has been a year. At this point, it has been a year since Assa, or we're getting on to the year anniversary for Assa's parents' death. And so Emily has probably been feeling that she's been walking on eggshells this entire time. And it feels like she's at peace now. Her being out and about, hanging out with this other person. She's sitting in that diner and she's in her comfort zone. She's, on the beach listening to the waves. Later on, she's texting Makio and she's on the train and she's in her peace. She's thanking Makio for that book suggestion. She's now at peace again. I think Emily is, unfortunately, a little bit more happier now that she's getting away from Assa and not feeling like she has to always be there and always guiding her. And I think that is sort of in a positive note because of Makio. Makio is now there for Assa. which we should probably get into. I love the scene with Makio and Juno. Now, this is technically a flashback segment here, but it is emphasizing something that I have kept thinking about over and over again throughout this entire series. It gives a sense that Makio is always like going after this finish line. I'm just taking care of Assa until she gets to this point. I can't entrust her with anybody else here because they're going to ruin her in this very vital point of her life. She just needs to get to this point right here. I just need to help her get to this point right here, and then I can let her go. This is just going to be like a 2-3 years ordeal, and she's good. She get to college, she becomes an adult, something like that. We're good. We're golden. Juno's like, hey, Makio, and this is great because it implies that Juno doesn't have kids. Again, that implied the fact that she feels bad to her mom because her mom, gave up her entire career and everything to have her. It gives an impression that Juno hasn't done the same thing, that she has been single her entire life. Either way, from Juno's perspective, she's kind of nudging Makio, hey, just so you know, I heard you say this once before, I don't think it's what you think it is. Even now, when I'm with my mom, I act like a kid. And I think it's going to be the same for you. Now, it's not your daughter. Assa's not your daughter, but I think it's going to be the same situation. Even when she's an adult, she's probably going to come to you and she's still going to want to be babied. She's still going to have problems and come to you as a parental figure. Like, what did she say? It was something like it's a deal with the devil. Like, when you signed up for this, you signed away yourself, basically. There's no until so-and-so or until this is over. It's always going to be there. It's not something you're just going to cut off. And I love how Makio responds to it. She's positive. It's not like a, oh God, you're right. It's a, oh, you're right. It's almost like there's an element here where I'm almost thinking, and this is totally my own like made up canon here. It's like I just want to think of Makio thinking to herself, yeah, she's going to need me still. Like, I'm not going to get discarded once she uses me or whatever. Like, I'm still going to be wanted by this little girl as she, goes on with her life. She's going to come back to me every now and then and say, Makio, I need something. It's just so good. Again, that whole scene was like, it just put a big smile on my face. I'm like, Juno, thank you. Thank you for pointing out something that I've been thinking about this entire series. Makio, what are you doing? It's not going to be a one and done. You're not just going to send her out the door and then it's over. She's going to be looking for her mom in Makio. Every now and then. She's going to need a parental figure, even on to the future. It's super cute. Other than that, for Makio, we did have a scene with her talking to Shingo, which does kind of open up into Assa's stuff. That, yes, Shingo is ranting about the fact that his father is such a jerk on his sick bed. But this kind of opens the door to what they discuss about the curse of the family and the idea that Shingo hopes that he won't be like his father. Again, the idea that whatever your parents are, you're going to end up being it too. If your parents are abusive, you're going to be abusive. If your parents are evil or mad or have this bad stain about themselves, you're going to have it as well. Trying to get away from that element. How they put it is the idea of, yes, you as a child, that you kind of have to, as you grow older, you have to discard the bad things about your family and your heritage and what your parents did for you and just keep the good stuff. With this specifically, being mean to random people, being mean to strangers, all that kind of stuff. But there's a few things here that I liked. Shingo first initially mentioned the fact that he wants to vent more. He's discovered that, probably through Makio, that, venting is a good thing. It helps you out. It helps get that out there. And so he wants to do it more. So he's trying to do this with Makio. But again, getting into the idea of the curse of the family. And this is something, again, that Assa ends up picking up on. Now, it doesn't really seem like it does much with the whole curse aspect with Assa, other than the idea that it keeps bringing up her parents. It shows this choir practice that they do. The first, initially, they don't really show much, but the second time they show it in the episode, they're leaving the choir. It was not a practice. It was actually a competition. And she failed the competition. Their team did not win. And the mother's like, oh, that's a bummer that you didn't win. She's like, I don't care. She's just happy that her parents are there. Like, she just wanted to sing in front of mom and dad. But it seems like they're finally getting into the father. It seems like we're finally having Assa acknowledge the father. It's sort of been the oddity of this entire series. And I kind of mentioned that it gave me the impression in the manga that it's just the fact that the father didn't want to be a part of anything. Again, he said that I'm going to be here. I'm going to help raise her. I'm going to take responsibility for her. But that's it. I don't want the family name or anything like that. We're not married. I don't want anything extra. It did really feel like the father is just there. It seems like finally we're seeing Assa acknowledge the father, and the fact that she was, going to him saying, hey, how was I? And he's just like, you stood out. Okay. I don't know if that's a bad comment. I mean, she's like, what does that even mean? I'm glad she didn't take it negatively, but it really felt like a negative comment. Like, yeah, you were so obnoxiously loud. It kind of stood out. Not that you were good. It's just that you were so loud and obnoxious. I don't know. But again, it kind of plants this as sort of her answer to the comment of curse. So I kind of wonder what that means. Is the father sort of something that has been, implanted upon her, the idea of not communicating, not expressing yourself? Again, it seems like the father is very disconnected from the family. It doesn't seem like he wants to be involved. Maybe a lot of her demeanor in not wanting to really connect to people and communicate to people might be from her father. I'm wondering if that's what they're sort of trying to portray here. What does the father have to do with this whole curse thing? Was it the fact that he was so disconnected and didn't want to nurture her that it kind of stumped her ability to really communicate to people, connect to people, and to love other people? I kind of wonder. I would be appreciated if they actually do bring him into the picture and have her make some sort of comment about it. But anyways, other than that, for Assa, the entire episode was really seemingly her, again, trying to find inspiration for her lyrics. She's gone around trying to look at things. It seems like a lot of things that she's observing are sort of stories in their own that we might get more of later on, which, yes, includes Chio, which is this girl that is on the science track along with Emiri, and seems like she's doing really well. 100 score everything. Grades are excellent, but then, unfortunately, at the very end, running into a situation where, again, sexism, treating women differently for this particular school, her being very upset about it. It does seem to be an inspiration for Assa in the future. But yeah, just Assa kind of observing things, acknowledging things. Again, at some point, finding out that she doesn't have to make any lyrics, that she could just audition for this one little stage performance that she ends up not wanting to do. It does seem like she doesn't really want to be on the front stage. She doesn't want to be in front of the crowd. She doesn't want to stand out. She wants to kind of be in her own little lonely corner, being, on the bass guitar, and it feels that she has to make this song in order to do that. I don't know. There's a lot of mixed messaging around Assa right now and what she wants to do, what she wants to decide to do. And it seems to be stemmed around something in band. It seems like this is a thing that she wants to do, but I don't think it's something that she's fully committed in doing. That's the troubling thing about her characters. It's so mixed up. It's very mixed up. But I kind of wonder with the little final segment there, even though it does seem like she has pushed away the idea of being a vocalist in the band, this little audition, she's still seemingly trying to write a song, and I think Chio is going to be the inspiration for that. As she kind of puts at the very end there, she's like, she couldn't look away. She sees Chio being mad about this, situation of sexism, and she's upset, and she's kind of just soaking it in. And it goes to like everything else that she's been thinking out the entire episode, which is the curse, the idea of, trying to find something you want to write, not being able to write anything, the aspect of her parents being dead, the whole bullying aspect that's going on, communication, shoot the whole thing with Emiri and Makio and the idea of communication and wanting to be in your own peaceful area. She's asking Makio, hey, why doesn't Emiri answer my texts? You don't do it either. Why don't you answer my text? And Makio's like, it's not like I always don't answer your text. It's just, it breaks my peace and quiet. Even though I see it, I don't want to answer it because it pulls me out of that space that I'm in. I totally get that. You need to answer eventually because people are worried or whatever, but I think we take it for granted too much, the idea of, instant communication, that people sometimes need to disconnect. We're so caught up on social media and, texting and phone calls, always having a device with you at all times, 24/7. You never have a moment to really kind of disconnect. And it's a good way to do it. Just don't answer things. And that's what Makio does. And that's something that Assa is bugged about. But again, this gets in that whole idea of the loneliness and the peace and quiet, that escapism that you can, find yourself in. So it does seem like there's a lot of things here that are all cultivating into what I think Assa wants to write about, what she wants to write. At the end point here, though, I'm more wondering if in the end, Assa's not going to write a song. She could still, and I think that'd be a nice thing to sort of give her her own unique thing that she's going to do versus Makio. Or is she going to do what Makio does and write an actual book? I think it's going to be the first. I think this is going to be the unique thing for Assa, and I think it's going to be around a lot of frustrations and angers that are built up inside of her. And I think what the end of this episode really is painting for me is that seeing Chio just let it out and vent her frustration in public in front of everybody, I think that's making Assa go, I want to do that. I think that's what it's sort of laying there. It seems like everything in the episode is pointing to her wanting to get away from being a vocalist and get away from the front of the stage. But I think seeing Chio openly in front of everybody yell about that It's making her want to do it. Anyways, I think that's pretty much everything. They did mention the fact that, yes, they missed Assa's birthday, which again did kind of highlight the fact that she's been there for an entire year at this point, which is pretty crazy to think at this point. But yeah, bringing up the fact that they have the anniversary coming up and everything. But other than that, I think I pretty much covered everything. Really good episode. Hope you guys enjoyed my coverage. As always, my Yap Fest really is what it's called. My Yap Fest. As always, I appreciate you guys' support. But anyways, until next time, until next week, y'all take care.